Hey, what's up everybody? So today I'm going to go over how to make this photo. So a couple days ago I posted this photo onto our Instagram and a lot of people asked me, how did I make this photo? Really creative idea. How did you do it? So I'm going to go over in this video how I made this photo. So I'm going to take you onto my desktop, show you exactly how I edited this photo, and show you some of the shortcuts that I use to making photos like this. So let's dive in and see what it's like. So the first thing we're going to do is open up Lightroom. So I already have the photos selected. They're in a collection called Cinerella Castle. I'm going to select all three photos, right click on one of them. You'll see the option Edit In, and I will select the Open as Layers in Photoshop. Once it opens, you will see all three photos as different layers in Photoshop, over down to the right. Real quickly, I select the night photo of Cinerella Castle. I hit Command T so that I can resize it to make it the same size as the other photo. That's going to be my main photo, so I'm going to move it to the bottom layer. I can just click and drag, and the rip paper is going to be the top, so I'm going to click and drag and move that to the top layer. I'm going to resize the photo. I'm just going to click over here. You can use the shortcut C, or you can press those three dots on the side and bring up the crop tool that way. And I'm just going to resize it so that it's the full size of the original photos. So one of the big things that you're going to notice is that the two photos are shot from the exact opposite side of the castle. Since we're going to use the rip paper to show the difference between the night and the day photos, we're going to be able to make this work. But first we have to make it look like it's taken from the same side. So I'm going to try to do my best to align them. I'm going to bring down the opacity so that I can see the bottom photo and the top photo kind of together. So I'm going to go over to the daytime photo, the second layer, and I'm going to hit Command T so that I can resize it, and I will click on the width and make that -100. This is going to make it a mirror version of the original photo. Since the opacity is brought down a little bit, I can try to line them up the best I can. Since we're using the rip paper to hide where these two photos meet, we're not going to need to line them up exactly perfect. So now that we're going to start doing our blending between the two photos, we're going to bring up the ripped paper. We're going to click that eye icon to the left of the label, and we will click the Command T button to bring up the resizing tool again, and we're going to rotate this 90 degrees so that it is going up and down instead of across the photo. Just going to stretch it so the main peaks of the castle are going to be shown between that ripped area. So we're going to start doing our blending of the photos, and we're going to do this by creating a new layer mask. So we're going to select on the second layer, and we're going to go up to the top. We're going to click Layer, go down to Layer Mask, and select Hide All. And then that will create a black layer, so nothing will be seen. So with the actual black layer selected, we're going to click B to bring up the brush tool. So I'm just going to make the brush tool a little bigger by hitting the brackets button to the right of the P button. X will toggle back between the two colors, white and black. Now we're going to use white because white reveals, black conceals. I can just paint in that white on the layer, and there you go. You'll see it just starts revealing all of the castle that we want right in between those rip marks. So I'm just going to use a big brush tool here just to paint in everything that I want, and then I'm going to go back closer to those ripped marks with a small tool. And here's a little shortcut. You can always hit Command plus to zoom in, or Command minus to zoom out if you're using a Mac. So I brushed a little too far over past the rip mark, so I'm just pressing the X button to change to the black. Okay, to get rid of the trees, I'm going to use the clone stamp tool. You can select it by just clicking on it directly underneath the brush tool, or you can use the shortcut S on your keyboard. In order to use it, you have to click Option to bring up the selector, and then you select an area that you want to sample from, and then you just click the area that you want to cover up. Another tool that you can use to get rid of these trees in this area is the spot heal, and it's down in those bottom 3 tools, and all you have to do is paint a small area and then it removes whatever object is in that area. I also like to use this tool to get rid of some of the clone stamp marks that didn't use content aware perfectly, and there's just a little bit of rough edges from where it was sampled. So, and again, I'm going to use that spot healing tool and just going to paint and select that area where the cable is, and boom, gone. Now I'm going to zoom in, Command plus, and then I'm going to make the brush tool smaller with the bracket, click on that cable that's left, and boom, gone. So to get rid of this cable, I'm actually going to show you another tool first before I remove it. They kind of work opposite of each other. So the content aware move tool, how that works is you just select an item, you create a selection around it just by using your mouse, trace that area kind of loosely, try to get as close as you can. Once that area is selected, you can click and drag, and it copies whatever you selected to the area that you move it to. So I'm just going to Command D to deselect it, and the tool that I'm going to use is the patch tool. It works the exact opposite of the last tool that I used. So I'm going to select the area around it, and I'm going to click and drag, in whatever area I move that selection to, it removes it. Last thing that we have to do is remove this the fuzzy area around the rip. I'm going to create another layer on the rip paper. I'm going to do that just by selecting the little button down on the bottom underneath the layers. It will create a white layer, as you can see, right next to the rip paper. And now I can use the brush tool by selecting B, and then I'm going to hit X to toggle to the black, so that I can use black to paint away that area that I don't want. So I'm just gonna go through real quickly and paint away the majority of the area that I don't want. Then I'm gonna go through with a smaller brush now to get that fine little area that's close. I don't need to worry that much about the detail with the shadow around the rip paper, since it is pretty small and your eyes really aren't going to be drawn to that area. If I leave a little bit, it's not going to be noticeable. So that's the final photo, but before I'm done, I'm going to export the final photo, and I want to export it both for a thumbnail on YouTube, which YouTube's thumbnails are 16 by 9, the same size as a widescreen. So I want to make sure that I can resize it to 16 by 9. So I can go and select C to bring up the crop tool again, and I can go up to the top bar, and I can put in the aspect ratio that I want. I can just type in 16 by 9, and it automatically changes it for me, and I can click and I can drag to move it to the area that I want. There you go. Once I'm done, select it, and it crops it to the size that I wanted. Now I'm going to go to export and export as. You can see it has a 26.2 megabit file, and YouTube will only allow you to upload a file that's under 2 megabytes. So I change the scale to 23, and then I can export it from there. Now that it's done exporting, I am going to bring up the crop tool again, and I'm going to change it to 4 by 5. That is the best size for Instagram. it's going to take up the full width of a phone screen so that you're getting the most amount of real estate when somebody's scrolling through on Instagram. Now this time I can select 100% because you can upload any size file to Instagram. Now I'm going to bring up the crop tool one more time, and I am going to bring it back to the original size. I want to save this as the original photo without it cropped into the 16:9 or the 4:5 ratio. And when I close it and save it, you're going to see that it's going to save a TIFF file, and it will save it directly into my Lightroom. So where I used to have 3 photos, now I have that 4th photo right there as the TIFF file. I can right click, edit in Photoshop, click the original, and it's going to bring up that TIFF file, the one that I was just working on, and it will show the exact same photo with all the same layers, all the same brush marks, everything like that I did before. So if I notice later on that there was some imperfection that I didn't like in the photo, I can always go back and re-edit it from there. All right, so there you go. That's how I edited that photo, and definitely looking forward to seeing how everybody implements those into their edits. And if you have any ideas, let me know. All right, see you next time.